If you're ever low in security, don't worry because Kazuchi is here for recovery. Alright, Digi-Egg cards, we got 4 copies of Kazuchimon right here from BT14. Your turn once returned when a card is removed from your security stack. This Digimon gains jamming, or actually one of your Digimon, which you get to choose, gain jamming for the turn, which is really good. Jamming is going to help you sort of like secure your security checks so that you don't get deleted by security battle specifically, which is always going to be really good. And this is the main egg you always want to see that you mainly Digivolve into. Check out the latest drop with the Divine Warriors and Regal Guardians playmats. We got tons of other cool merch on the AVAULT store. And if you're located in the US or Canada, you can even get free shipping for orders over $100. Thank you guys for all the support, and this wouldn't be happening without you. Now, like I mentioned, yellow vaccine package. Really good from BT14. You definitely want to be playing 4 copies of Patamon just so you can use your starter main phase effect to search for your security, Digivolve into yellow vaccine, and do all that crazy combos for free, and even gain a memory back with its inheritable as well because you put a security back into your stack, which is really, really great value just from this rookie. One of the best yellow rookies to ever come out for sure. And then because of yellow vaccine related stuff, we definitely want to be playing 4 Kudamons for searching. Really great for grabbing us a yellow vaccine card as well as a tamer card, which we do play a little bit because we want to synergize with our TKs as well. And then it has that one attacking inheritable once returned. If there's 6 or fewer total security cards in both players, security, you get to minus 2000 DP to one of your opponent's Digimon. Doesn't come out as often just because you want to hard play this as much as you can rather than Digivolve into your Patamon and go for your stack that way instead. So it is just a searcher that you just play overall. Last but not least, just 2 and 2 of Cutemon and Pillowmon, just generic really great floodgates for yellow in this particular format. Cutemon just really good to sort of stop your opponents from using their training cards and reducing any digital costs in general. Pillowmon to stop them from playing anything. Really just great meta call, so these can always just change depending on the meta overall and what the situation is, but that basically sums up for the rookies there. Now let's talk about our level 4s. 3 copies of Bulkmon, which is the Digivolution of Pulsemon here. Very simple, just for 2 costs. Your turn, while you have 3 or more security cards, you gain security +1, this particular Digimon. So they can swing for 2 checks, and you guys can synergize with Kazuchimon as well when you have jamming. Jamming 2 checks in the early stages of the game is really, really great to effectively remove your opponent's security and set up so you can go for some big combos later on to finish them off, which is always very nice. Then, for sure, 2 copies of Angemon as well, at least just because you are playing Patamon and the vaccine engine. It's just always great Digivolving for 2 on top of Patamon. If not, you Digivolve for 3 on top of any yellow as well. When attacking, you can always remove something that's virus as well, which is great, or minus something by 5000 DP. Angemon can go back into security, hatch your egg if you have TK or any tamer in general as well. And it also has that inheritable on deletion, letting you sort of put something that's yellow vaccine from your hand to the bottom of your security stack too, which is always really great. A very, very powerful card for sure. Of course, yellow vaccine again, because then that means we're playing Geo Greymon, so we can potentially search for tamers, play tamers for free. Really good synergy with Patamon as well overall. And then we also got Rapidmon, which I like to play as a 1 copy tech here, just for like some sort of like early game board removal and control, which we can get into. Suspend opponent's Digimon for every tamer that we have as well, minus 5000 DP too, and Armor Purge is always kind of neat to make some early checks there. And then last but not least, 2 copies of Kazuchimon, again, because we do play quite a handful of yellow tamers, which is why we want to go for the hybrid for game strategy, which is really good too, so that we can finish games off, make that extra attack when we really need to. That's it for level 4s. Now let's talk about our level 5s. First and foremost, we have 4 copies of Boutmon, which is the promo card right here that costs me to Digivolve, and it has an effect of your turn. When this Digimon would Digivolve into a card with Shaman, Wizard, and its traits, you get to trash up to 3 cards from your security to reduce the cost by 1 for every card that you're trashed. Now, this seems like quite a lot to pay for, but that's totally fine. It has a really great synergy with Kazuchimon, which we'll get into just in a bit, but you can actually be able to reduce the cost even further. You can get into and turbo your level 6s very, very quickly. Now, you always want to sort of get into that sweet number of level 3 security specifically, so that you can utilize its when attacking inheritable once per turn. If you have exactly 3 security cards, you get to unsuspend. Now, this Boutmon is just incredibly good, and it can be a very, very good card in the future as well, as we get more Wizard and Shaman related synergy traits when it comes to it. And just so you guys know, BT14 Beginning Observer, there's going to be a new Shroudmon, which is a alternative Digivolution for Pulsemon specifically, which I'm really excited to get into. And I think this Boutmon is going to be a really, really good one for that particular deck. And if you guys want to see any other future decks that I'm going to be working on for BT15 and 16 as well with deck lists and such, definitely join the AVAULT Club right now. But don't forget to subscribe, turn on notification bell to stay tuned as we get to revisit this deck potentially in the future alongside with Kazuchimon as well. Then we got 2 copies of Rise Greymon from BT2, just really good to let you play a tamer for free. And then with it's inheritable to gain security +1 as you have like 3 or more tamers, which is going to be specifically yellow, so then you can go for more aggressive checks. Really, really powerful again when it comes to like synergizing with your top end for extra damage. And because it is yellow vaccine as well, so we are playing 2 hand traps right here, 2 Magna Angemon Ace cards, so we can blast Digivolve during the opponent's turn, recover 1 as well, minus DP to some of their Digimon. Always just a really great surprise and a really great early game sort of counter card to potentially get into level 5 for free. That's it for all of our level 5s now. Let's talk about our level 6. Of course, the main boss Digimon of the deck. We're playing 3 copies of Kazuchimon. It feels great to sort of like see this guy make a comeback and finally like utilize all the way back from BT7. This guy does cost 5 to Digivolve, but it has really good versatile effects that helps you sort of depending on how many cards you have in your security. When Digivolving, if you have 3 or more security cards, you gain 2 memory back. Now, if you have 2 or fewer, actually, you get to recover all the way back until you're 3. So it has perfect synergy alongside with your Boutmon when you get into it. Really, really good there. And then otherwise, its secondary effect is that your turn, while you have 3 or more security cards, this Digimon gains security +1. You're always going to be at 3 or more when you get into this guy, so that you can make some massive checks, massive swings all together with it. And again, if you partner up with like Kiaramon and your entire stack optimally, you can go for so many checks in one go and take out all your opponent's security, or even like just finish the game just like that too. And that's what makes this card incredibly strong. And then because again, we're playing yellow vaccine, I do want to tech in at least just 1 Seraphimon, which is sort of a similar concept. You get to reduce your opponent's DP as well, you get to recover and also gain security +1 as well at the same time, which is also kind of neat when it comes to sort of going together with the whole deck. Then last but not least, to round off all the other level 6s, 2 copies of Venusmon. Venusmon specifically is a shaman, so then you can actually Digivolve for fewer costs alongside when you synergize with Boutmon specifically. Not only she can sort of like control the board a little bit and sort of buy yourself like even like an entire turn because of their blanket effect, security -1 across the opponent's entire board. It also sort of stops your opponents that has any security modifiers from attacking her specifically, activate when attacking effects or when Digivolving effects. It's just really, really good. And just to sort of like slow down the game a bit if you ever need to. Last but not least, as we move into our level 7s, because we play yellow base and all that, we are playing 2 copies of Shine Greymon Ruin Mode. Now I know you guys may not have access to Shine Greymon Ruin Mode, which is totally fine, but there would definitely have some other options and tech choices, which I'll talk about more later on, which you guys can actually substitute that for this particular card instead. But Ruin Mode is just incredibly powerful, stopping your opponents, blanket 5,000 DP minus across the entire board, being able to delete stuff, recover stuff. You know, this card is just incredibly good, especially when you're playing yellow decks for sure. That's it for Digimon. Let's talk about our tamers. We're playing 4 copies of the BT14 TK just because it helps you search through your security stack. You can put something back as well, and every time when you add a security back into your security stack, you can just spend him to gain a memory back, which is very, very versatile when it comes to sort of synergizing with your plays and combos. This is definitely one of the cards that you want to see in the early stages of the game, so you can set it up and you can sort of help you sort of Digivolve and gain a ton of value throughout the entire course of the mid game as well. Then we got 2 copies of the Memory Tamer TK. Same concept. This one searches your security stack specifically to grab a very specific card and then recover 1. But not only that, it's your main Memory Tamer of the deck, which is exactly why it's really good. Then let's run into our options. We got 4 copies of Physical Training, just a really good generic staple to have so they can sort of search as well and Digivolve and Turbo Digivolve through your stack very quickly to reduce the cost by 2 when you sort of use this delay effect. Just again, very strong generic staple. And then last but not least, to round off all the options, 3 copies of Emissary of Hope. Just because it costs 1, you can potentially Digivolve into any yellow vaccine. Your entire deck is going to be yellow vaccine anyway, so you can get into your Kazuchimons, you can get into your Venusmons for effectively just 1 cost is incredibly good. And you get to recover 1 back if you have a TK on the board, which you usually would want to set that up before you actually use this card. And security effect lets you play a Patamon for Parameter Trash as well, which is really good, and you add it back to your hand. So a really crucial card that you always want to make sure that you're searching for your security as you're looking through it. Make sure to remember what you have in there so you can get the maximum value when you use this particular option. Okay, so for other cards to suggest, I don't really have a whole lot, but you guys might realize this is all just kind of gas, no brakes. It really focuses on trying to like deal damage as much as possible, but some of you guys might want to play some defensive options and cards, as well as substituting for Shine Greymon Ruin Mode if you don't have access to it. Of course, Odin's Breath is kind of decent. Since you do juggle around your security numbers quite often, you might be sometimes being at 6 at lower when you sort of like add all together with yours and your opponents together. You can kind of have like that blanket security -1, -3000 DP to one of your opponent's Digimon as well at the same time. Really neat there. Otherwise, Long K is also just a really good card in general. You always do sometimes manipulate your security to that 3 magical spot so that you can minus something by 12,000 DP, send something back to the opponent's security stack as well, is one of the probably the better options to run as well. But last but not least, I think Holy Flame is also kind of decent as well to sort of stop against your opponent's Digimon, as well as synergizing very nicely with like Venusmon all together. And with Venusmon all together, you can also like sort of like stop and buy yourself another turn because of it. And then it's, you know, security effect is just really good because all your opponent's Digimon basically gain security -1 and then they can't go for a game. All right, combos and how to play the Kazuchimon deck right here. Now, with the starting hand, you definitely want to see yourself early stages of the game. TK, physical training, your Krudamons, these are sort of like your searching cards and your cycling cards, and as well this memory TK to search for your security and get information, which is also really important. You definitely want to try molding for Patamon. If you see Patamon, it's always great because it's your great first turn play. You would hatch your egg, Digivolve into it, and then play one of these other cards and then pass turn to your opponent, because the next turn when you push it out, you can search your security stack and Digivolve into any level 4. And the neat thing is being able to Digivolve into any level 4 that you can find in there, depending on the situation on what value you can get. Pokemon is the most ideal one to get into for this particular deck, because once you get into Pokemon, you Digivolve, put something back underneath, gain a memory Patamon, and you gain jamming with Kiramon in here. And immediately, early game, 2 checks, 5k jamming right there is really good to get rid of your opponent's security to set up for the lethal game plan later on. Otherwise, Digivolving into any of these other guys are totally fine depending on the situation if you need to get into. But then afterwards, the game plan is to continue to sort of like stack up these cards, set up them, and then you can eventually go into your Boutmon, whether you're using your physical trainings or whether you're using Emissary of Hope. When you search your security stack, make sure to remember what's in there, because it's really crucial as it leads to proper next plays. So you can go into Boutmon right here, the turn after, ready to go, unsuspended and all that stuff. Or maybe you can swim with Pokemon first, even if you want to, but the whole goal is to try to turbo into Kazuchimon as soon as possible. Use Boutmon's effect. If you have, depending how much security you have in the early stage of the game, when you're still sort of ramping it up, if you have 5 security, what you want to do is actually trash 2, so then you can Digivolve into Kazuchimon for 3 costs only. Now after that, Kazuchimon's actually going to gain 2 memory back because you have 3 or more security. So effectively from this play, you Digivolve into Kazuchimon for 1 cost. It is exactly the same if you use Emissary of Hope as well. And that's how consistent it is, because if you can't Digivolve it this way, you can Digivolve it this way as well, and they both only cost you 1 memory in the end goal, as long as there's no floodgates and whatnot. So what's next is you get to swing 2 checks with Kazuchimon and unsuspend, because you're exactly at the sweet spot of 3 security. And then that's 2 checks, and then you swing again, that's another 2 checks. And you want to get into this combo as early as you can, because the earlier you can get into it, the faster you can just take out and finish off your opponents right there. Because otherwise, sometimes, you know, you might have the second rookie in the raising ready to swing right there, or this is the exact reason why we play some hybrids, as we can go into it. Also, make sure to use your TKs to gain memory as you're sort of building your stack, just like that. Very simple with the Kazuchimon. Now, in the later game stages, if you're down to like no security, Kazuchimon still does great. Now, although Boutmon, you can't trash security to reduce any digital fusion cost any further. Therefore, you do sometimes have to Digivolve into Kazuchimon for a little bit more memory than you need to. But this is when also physical training comes in. You utilize it to Digivolve it for a little fewer cost instead, and then you get to recover 3 back here immediately, keeping yourself in the game. And if you're able to retain the same turn, then you can swing another for 2 checks, unsuspend, another 2 checks, unsuspend, which is absolutely insane. And also make sure to keep in mind that sometimes you have your Kiramon. If you have your Kiramon, when you remove a security stack, you get to sort of gain that jamming as well for safer swings. Now in other situations, sometimes you might just Digivolve into Rise Greymon here instead to play more Tamers for free, which is almost just as good, because when you go into Kazuchimon and you have that 3 security, you go for 3 checks here as well, which is equally just as good, and because it does that amount of damage there. Otherwise, I do sometimes like to play Venusmon just in case, depending on matchup, you might want to slow down things a little bit, you know, buy yourself some time, go into Venusmon to control the board a little bit more. And I did take in one Seraphimon to go into the alternative as well, just to go for the traditional yellow vaccine type of plays at the same time. And then to top it all off, if you really need to like pressure your opponent's board, stop them from sort of like, you know, progressing anything further from their next turn, you can always go into Shangri Ruin mode to sort of seal the deal as well, all at the same time. So really fun, really cool deck as well. Mentioned about Kudamon as well. Kudamon, if you see it, you do want to normally hard play it. Very rarely you want to Digivolve it, as well as when it comes to your other rookies, your Cutemon and your Pillowmon, you do want to save it. Depending on specific matchups you're facing up against, you might sometimes just hard play them or Digivolve them in Raisings to get them ready to push out with the next turn afterwards to stop your opponents again, to floodgate them and not let them play depending on what it is. Then otherwise, sometimes when you go into Bulkmon early swing, your opponent might try to answer this particular Bulkmon. If it ever comes in threat, you can then easily just blast Digivolve into Magna Angemon Ace, recover one, minus DP as well, and all at the same time, which is really simple, but a really cool and straightforward deck when it comes to Kazuchimon. I'm definitely looking forward to more new support, so then we can play more different cool things with Shaman and Wizard related too as well. So one more really important thing, with New Year's around the corner, you guys know what that means. The AVAULT store promotions and discounts will be ending, so make sure not to miss out. Go there right now and check it out, and make sure to grab your merch before it's too late. If you guys want to see the gameplay video of this particular deck, be sure to watch it right here, right now as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. And this is AVAULT signing